What do artists, cats, and cyberpunk have in common? Let's recap the 2024 JP Fan Festival keynote. So the 2024 JP Fan Fest keynote was yesterday, and it started out with the final full trailer of Dawntrail. So as you can see, we started out with very much the same that we've seen before at previous fan fests at both the NA and EU fan festivals. The first stark difference that I've seen is just the music. It is definitely a little bit updated and a lot of new parts in here. If you haven't watched the trailer already, I would definitely go recommend watching it, seeing what you think. I've probably watched it at least 24 times. Now, there hasn't been anything big so far, little addition to scenes here and there, but right after this scene is where we start seeing a lot of new stuff in the trailer. So this was the biggest moment for me watching it. As you can see, Kryle isn't on the new job class. And spoiler alert, I cannot wait for Pictomancer. But this was just amazing seeing Kryle as happy as ever, painting her heart out and bringing some brightness to the world. Absolutely adore this piece. Even the vocals, they brought back Amanda Aiken for this, and I absolutely love Amanda. She does amazing vocals, and it just feels right to have her do some vocals in Dawntrail. This is definitely a new view right here of this bridge over a large cavern. And now finally we get to see Alphino. We haven't seen him fully yet in the trailer so far. Next big reveal. Yes, female Hrothgar. This is something that we've been promised for a little while now, and it was great to see it. So now we had two major reveals in the final trailer. The first one being Kryle as Pictomancer. So not only do we see the new job that's coming up, but also we know that it's Kryle and that she's going to be bringing Pictomancer to Dawntrail, however that is going to happen. Now, the next big reveal was, of course, our female Hrothgar, and it looks like she's going to be actually a pretty prevalent character to the new Dawntrail story. We will talk about her a little bit further, but they did mention that she is the heiress to the throne in Tural. We know already that there's going to be kind of a fight for the throne, and now we've learned that she is the heiress to that throne. So at the beginning of the keynote presentation, Yoshi P mentioned that Dawntrail is still set for summer 2024. However, we do not have a confirmed date yet. They really want to avoid a repeat of Endwalker and kind of having dates pushed. And so therefore, they're not giving us a date yet. So we didn't actually get any pre-order dates, any pre-order info at all, no collector's edition info that we're historically used to. That is definitely a part of them not wanting to release the date until they're solid and set that they're gonna meet that deadline. And now Yoshi kind of made a punch maybe at Square Enix too and said that they're gonna work off of Final Fantasy XIV time, not on Square Enix time. So definitely something that he wants to make sure happens and doesn't get pushed too soon. And we don't want Yoshi to cry again. That was so heartbreaking during the Endwalker release when they had to push it back and he felt so sorry. So, you know, I'm okay with them pushing off the official date a little bit longer. I would rather them give it to us and us take off the appropriate time from work like some of us will do without having to worry about having to readjust those dates. Now, getting right into the keynote presentation, we saw what we've already kind of known from the trailers is that we have two new jobs. The first one being Viper. They didn't really talk about Viper this time, but we did get a sneak peek at the new Pictomancer class. So Pictomancer, as you can see, is an artist class. Now, as an artist myself, it is very likely that this will be my new main. I'm not 100% sure yet because I've been a Black Mage main since 9 years ago now, January 2015. But if there is another class that I would maybe consider my new main, this so far is it. So it looks like you have in your right hand a paintbrush, a gigantic paintbrush, and then on your left hand would be your palette. And this is really cool seeing both the character art as well as an in-game character. Now, this new DPS is going to be a ranged magical DPS starting at level 80. You can get Pictomancer by going into Gridania. So you'll have to go to Gridania to pick up Pictomancer, but there will not be any required classes. They haven't done that in a long time. So back in the Realm Reborn days, you had to get Archer and Thaumaturge in order to get Black Mage. That system's gone. I think they're pretty much scrapping it entirely. So as soon as you unlock Pictomancer, that is the class. Pictomancer's gonna work by drawing landscape spells and creatures for its attacks, which seems very awesome. I recommend, if you want to see the full trailer, to go look that up. I also have a video that I'll tag in the comments for a look at the Pictomancer video. They did show us a Pictomancer trailer with different attacks and abilities. It looks really cool too, because they have a lot of 2D animations, kind of more painterly animations, which is completely unique to what we have currently. Now, Pictomancer will have some support abilities, but it's not going to be a full support class. Yoshi P definitely wanted to emphasize that. There's not going to be a res, not like Red Mage or Summoner, but there will be raid buffs. And they brought out a cute little cosplayer in the Pictomancer gear. Yoshi P did not want to wear the cosplay. He mentioned that he is a 50-year-old man and no one wants to see that, though I think a lot of the people in the comments were telling him, yes, please wear it. But we did see this awesome cosplayer come out and show off the new class. Going from there, they started delving into just the world of Dawntrail, expanding upon the major details that we've seen so far. And it reads, as hope's light dawns once more, a hero looks to new horizons. Winds of opportunity bring a visitor from the far west, seeking the Warrior of Light's aid in a rite of succession to determine Turel's next ruler. So this definitely takes place with our heiress coming in, and I apologize, I cannot remember her name to save my life, and I probably would butcher it anyways. And we had this little infographic here too with Aaronville, Kryle, Derplander, as they say, and Alphino and Ali say, and a little bit more information alongside Alphino. Alice and Aaronville, the Warrior of Lights embarks on a journey across the Indigo Deep. Should rumor be true, the contest may lead them to the fabled gates of a city of gold. Little do they know that it'll also send the Scions divided. So my first thing looking at this cast of characters, as well as reading this, is this half our cast? Is this going to be one half that's divided? Are we even going to have just two, are the Scions going to be divided just in two? We don't know yet. So I'm very curious to see how this plays out, but we didn't really get too much into the main scenario past this point. Now, leading up to the main scenario for Dawntrail is patch 6.55. That is our next patch. And 6.55 main scenario part 2 will be released on Tuesday, January 16th. Now, the recording for the keynote the North American players was January 6th. So 10 days from then, we'll have the new patch main scenario content. So next we go to our new areas. Now, we've already seen some of the new areas so far. We got a little extra taste of some new areas to come. Now, of course, we have an extended view of the map. The majority, at least that we know of Dawntrail is going to take place in North Tyrell and Southern Tyrell, which is kind of like, theoretically, almost like the North America, South Americas. And we'll see over here Tulilalal and a place here that we haven't really seen yet, but it looks kind of like we will very shortly. And so with the new areas, we started seeing a lot of zones. It's kind of the most unique diversity, I feel like, that we've seen in different map content. On the left, we have this kind of like dark, mystical, lush landscape that's kind of like a forest. It almost looked like a very dense forest. And then on the right is very Wild West, Old Western-esque mining area and zones. And it had like a lot of those, but this was not our biggest surprise for maps. Our biggest surprise was this. So I guess they just said, okay, we're placing you inside of a PC. Very Tron-esque maps. To me, it kind of reminded me of some of like the Overwatch maps, a little bit, like very futuristic, bright purples, bright pinks, bright colors. We didn't get a super zoomed out view of this either, apparently because there are some spoilers that could be had. Very futuristic vibe. We haven't really seen anything like this in the game before. I think the closest would be some of the moon, kind of, like in Mare Lamentorum. But that's not even scratching the surface of what they showed us at the keynote yesterday. And now our new city hub was announced with this photo, Solution 9. So whatever Solution 9 means, I know there's a lot of speculation going back to past Final Fantasies, but to me, this just screams cyberpunky. It's, like I said, very like pinks, purples, teals, which is up my alley. I absolutely love that color scheme. and very bright, very digital. You can see over here like digital billboards. Almost feels like we're just being ported into a digital world. Now, I know my camera's covering some of the text down below, but it says a city of towering facades constructed by an entirely different civilization than that of Telilio. So very exciting. I don't know how we're gonna get there from here, but I am incredibly excited for this map zone. And now this was one of the next photos that they showed. It kind of almost looks like it's the cross section between some of that Western landscape with like the train and the buildings that meets this like new cyberpunky area. So I don't know if that like this is where they meet, but it looks kind of like the outskirts of the Solution 9. Maybe that this is kind of like where Solution 9 is kind of coming out of the ground, but not sure yet. They just showed us a bunch of these photos and didn't really get too much in the details. So I'm sure we'll see that in the story of Dawntrail. And now this was one of our last photos of this area. This area is going to be overflowing with lightning energies and thick thunderclouds. So you're always going to see like the 11 strikes, the purple illumination, day and night, it said. So stay tuned. It kind of almost reminds me of the light in the first, where it was just kind of like light all the time. I feel like it's going to be that, but with like this lightning. Now, the one last part of the zones and new areas that we saw was this carousel. And if nothing else, it made me entirely confused because out of everything we've seen so far, this is very unique and not like anything else. So a merry-go-round? Is this gonna be a map? Is this gonna be a mount? I don't know. So it makes me very curious, and it almost makes me really want my carnival-esque map or something to do with carnivals, but to be continued. We don't know much about it, but I'm ready for it, I think. Now, next on the agenda is new allies. We've already seen a couple of these before. It looks like the Hanu is right here, almost kind of like a recolored, brighter version of the Vanu beast tribes that we've already saw in Heavensward. Goblin-esque characters up here. I believe we saw this character before, and then a llama or an alpaca, and then these trolls. I read somewhere or I saw somewhere that they kind of might be like a Final Fantasy 11 trolls. Do not quote me on that because I don't know 11 at all. But very interesting seeing some of these new tribes. We also got a deeper look on the diverse population of Mamulja. So I'm actually going to get rid of my camera for just 1 second so that you can see this character on the left. Essentially the Bart Simpson, the mom, I wet the bed, the random kid that's just wanting help. Just very deadpan face and very there. Just very deadpan face and just looked hilarious just sitting there. And then over here, whatever this guy's on, I want. He is just blazed out of his mind like Saw dude. Yeah, so we will see what kind of characters the Mamulja become for us. Now, to recap for some core battle content that's going to be coming in Dawntrail, a lot of this is very self-explanatory, things that we see in every single expansion, but of course they like to touch upon it. First one is Fates, Hunt, Treasure Hunts, Side Quests. You're always going to see that, but just a little infographic showing you what's to come. We did get to see some new dungeons. I recommend going and checking out the dungeon trailers. A lot of bright colors, lush forestation. A lot of really cool things to come. They also showed some of the kind of futuristic look as well, so definitely look at that. They couldn't show a whole lot, and I believe it's because of spoilers. So we got a little taste, but nothing too crazy. And this slide, we finally got to see some new threats. Elephant in the room, or more Cactuar in the room. I couldn't avoid just this guy the whole time this slide was up. I couldn't even look at the two on the left. Could not even. I believe the correct term is barrel tender, but I have seen swole tender, jack tar, swole tar, thick tar, all the tars. He is thick and he has not skipped leg day or arm day at all. So very excited to see the evolution of the Cactuar Nation. Also on the left, we have Valagarmanda, and in the middle, the Eliminator. So new threats that we will see in Dawntrail. And of course, duty support update with the trust system being such a prevalent feature in Final Fantasy as we know it today. We will continue to have duty support for trusts. Kryl will also be added in as Pictomancer for the trust system. And some of these are very self-explanatory, but again, they just like to touch upon it on each keynote. New gear and recipes, as it is, we just get new gear, get new crafts to make new gear. A level cap will increase to level 100, which is something we already knew as well. But it was really cool. We did get to see some new artifact armors. So left to right, we have Summoner, Samurai, Sage, and Gunbreaker. I think this is really cool with Summoner. You still have the Summoner dong up here, but he kind of has like a poncho situation going on, which is pretty unique for a Summoner, if you ask me. And Samurai's outfit looks very, very samurai, nothing too crazy. A lot of people were almost thinking that this was like Paladin at first, because it kind of gives that like that cleanly like Paladin blue and white vibes, but it actually is Sage. You can kind of see some of the Sage weapons up here. It looks really neat. I'm very excited to see what the Sage armor becomes. And then of course, Gunbreaker. This is an amazing jacket with the graphics update. Just seeing the texture and the weight of the leather and the chains. Oh, so excited for that. It just looks so good. We also got to see 4 more in Machinist, Reaper, Astrologian, and Paladin. Again, I am just so excited for the graphics update with these outfits. The Machinist one is actually one of my favorites. One of my secondary classes is Machinist. So seeing this really cute, like, jacket with the flaps and, you know, you have the vest with the tie situation. I thought it was adorable. The Reaper glam, everyone is gone crazy for it. I think the hat's dumb, just being quite frank. But this fluffy like shoulder piece with like all the cutouts on the coat and the pants, very nice. And I think it has a very good display using the new graphic system. Now, Astrologian, it is very simple, and I've seen mixed opinions. Some people really love it, and others just think it's super underwhelming. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I'm a little underwhelmed when seeing it against some of these more intricate pieces, but at the same time, one of the things that I think is really cool and overlooked is how it looks like velvet. I think with the graphics update, we're going to be able to show off these different fabrics and textures a lot better, and it shows in the Astrologian AF gear. And the last one, of course, is Paladin. Very Paladin-like, nothing too far off the normal beating path. Did kind of have this like eyeball in the middle though, which I'm very curious about. But overall, just really nice. I love seeing the reflections. Oh, the metal now with the graphics update is going to look so much better. So that is very exciting to see. Now, Dawntrail as a whole, I've been saying for a while now that it's going to be less of a major story expansion and more of a lifestyle, quality of life expansion. And this is definitely one of those times that shows with expansive new lifestyle content. Now, lifestyle content that we've gotten in the past, especially more recently, is the Ishgardian Restoration Project, as well as the Private Islands. They dropped a huge bombshell on us with Cosmic Exploration. So this seems like it's going to be very similar to the Ishgardian Restoration, but there weren't really any full details on it yet. We really only just got this concept art, so have to look forward to seeing some of this in motion. And the biggest bombshell is we're going to be going to other planets. And they said planets plural. And I'm just like, what is going on? So at first I thought this was maybe like moon and kind of like we're going back to the moon, but it seems like we're going to be going to other planets. So I'm very curious on how that's going to happen, why that's going to happen, and where are we going? And the one thing that was very obvious here, besides seeing our Loporrit friends over here, was just that there are crafters and gatherers. So this definitely seems like it's going to be a full crafting and gathering type of content. You see gatherer here, gatherers or gatherer right here, crafter over here. So it looks like it'll be full crafter and gatherer content. Now, with this slide, it's definitely nothing new. We've seen this before, but just to reiterate, the new Alliance raid, the 24-man raid for Dawntrail, will be essentially a crossover with Final Fantasy XI. We didn't really get anything new, except for a new piece of concept art. And this is it. This is a character that is new for the 14 community, but for the 11 community, he is known as Shadow Lord, aka the Dark Boy, as I thought he was before I knew what his name was. From what I read was that he was the first real boss in like the base of Final Fantasy XI. So very excited to see where where that's gonna go. I might read up on some Final Fantasy XI and just kind of get a feel for it, and we'll see in future live letters what the crossover will be. Now, this one's more up my alley. I do enjoy my normal and Savage 8-player raids, and we, again, didn't get too much details, but they dropped the name and kind of the theme too. So welcome to RTX 4090, I mean the Arcadian. We didn't get a lot of information. We did get this, however. This is still that very cyberpunky futuristic vibe, probably taking place in Solution 9. I'm hoping and expecting there to be a lot of EDM. So if I do not see a lot of EDM, I will be very sad. But yeah, this is just very bright, vibrant, awesome. The only thing, and I'm not going to deep dive on it too much, but the only thing that I saw that kind of made me curious was right behind the C. It almost looks like an ASEAN symbol. So I wonder if that's going to be any correlation, especially because I feel like ASEANs we're done with them. Maybe this is left over from something. I don't know. And now to finish up the raid conversation, we have the new Ultimate raid. They wanted to keep on the path of every other Ultimate being either story or trials, and this was no exception. We are skipping right over Shinryu and heading to Futures Rewritten Ultimate, or FRU as people like to call it. And this is based off of the Eden series. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to do. I'm actually kind of curious too, why they skipped over Shinryu potentially. I love the Eden series. I think it's some of the, if not the best raid series that we've had in the game. But I'm also very curious. It's not new, but it kind of still feels new. So I'm very curious as to why we kind of skipped over a major story arc. And to finish out the keynote, we had a lot of vague kind of additions to what else will be happening in Dawn Trail. And here are some ongoing content update. We're going to have an update to Blue Mage, whatever that may mean. I don't know if they're going to rework it or just give it some additions. Inconceivably further Hildebrand adventure. So it just seems like the more the community wants it, the more the writers want to keep doing it, we're going to continue to get Hildebrand, and I'm not mad. I know it costs a lot of money to do some of the crazy cutscenes, but I love the Hildebrand series. I love that we have something that's just a meme, just completely a crazy little fun thing on the side. I absolutely love it. And they're going to have new plans for Deep Dungeons, which I'm wondering if it means we're just going to get new Deep Dungeons or if they're going to alter Deep Dungeons in some sort of way. Past that, we're going to get a Gold Saucer update, hopefully some new gates, a PvP update, and some new variant dungeons, which I'm very excited for. I really enjoy the variant dungeons. I'm glad that that's a system that they worked in. And I'm glad that people are taking to it pretty well. And new field operations. This has been confirmed in interviews with Yoshi P, but he hasn't really said it on stage. But we will be getting a new exploration zone, kind of like a Baja or Eureka. Just no details about it at this time. And they did end up making an announcement about the new limited job coming in the latter part of 7.0. They didn't give us much, but I'm glad that they did talk about this because we knew we were going to get it, but that was it. We just knew we were going to get it. Without giving us any details, they did give us the name, which is Beastmaster. So it's very exciting to see that Beastmaster is used. I know a lot of people have been speculating and wanting Beastmaster for a long time now. Essentially Pokemon? Possibly. Are we going to get like an app instead of Pokemon Go, it's Beastmaster Go or Final Fantasy Go? Not sure, but I'm excited to see what Beastmaster is going to be and if they show videos of it in the future. Now, we were able to get a deeper dive into the first graphical update that we're going to get in Dawn Trail. I have a full video about my reactions, my live watch reactions that I will have linked, and you can go check that out if you want to see everything. It is kind of a longer section of the keynote, but I'm just pulling a few up that I thought were significant. First is our mail here. I can't tell you how much I absolutely love this graphical update. The first time they had even hinted to wanting to do a graphical update, it just looked crazy. Like it looked like a completely other game, and I think it turned a lot of people off, including myself. I think they've hit that happy medium. We're going to update things so that they look a little bit better and a little more modern without taking away the charm and the characteristics of the game as we know it. So in these photos, as they say, subject to change, we have a lot more textures in the hair, a lot more depth in the face and in the shadows, a lot more smoother contours. Like you could definitely tell on like the nose and on the chin. Definitely just all in all, a lot smoother and better. Another thing I noticed here was even the scars, like the facial details. The scar on the original is just like a straight line essentially, but over here it actually looks like it's on the face. Like it looks pretty realistic. As well, a lot of highlights and shadows that just make the face look a lot more realistic. It does kind of make him look like he's like wearing a bunch of body oil, but I'll take it. Better than like flat. And with the female Makote, they showed a couple darker skin characters, which is really great to see that the dark skin characters aren't going to be so like washed out and absorb the light anymore. You can actually see details very easily now with the highlights and the shadows. I'm so excited to see this. And this is one of the last ones that I'm gonna look at today, but just same thing, hair, shadows, contouring. One thing too that I think shows really well here is the fabric. So far, a lot of this fabric has just seemed very, very kind of muddy. And now you actually see more details and shadows in the rolls of the fabric. It feels like it has a weight to it. There's even like kind of like textures between the metal and the cloth and the leather. You can see the different textures and it just looks so much better. And we can't talk about graphical updates without talking about the 2-dye channel system. Most everything will be fully customizable, but there are going to be some items that are just pretty much Yoshi just said it's impossible to dye every single detail. This one luckily is one of those ones that you're dyeing pretty much everything, but even the belt stays consistently black. There are just certain things that they really can't have separate dye channels, but at least the 2 system is coming in. As you can see here, the first dye would be just the cloth between the cape and kind of the cloth on the armor. And then the second dye adding in with the metal armor here, even on the headpiece. This is just such an awesome customizable option that we're gonna get in Dawntrail. And so some final updates, additional updates. Of course, they gave us, again, the minimum system requirements as well as the recommended system requirements. I recommend if you're not 100% sure about if your system can handle the game, look at these requirements, see how you match up. Also keep an eye out. At some point in the future, they'll probably release a benchmark, which you can download onto your computer and run. So it'll actually show you how your computer holds up to what you will need for Dawntrail. When that is close to the date and is released, I will be posting a video about it. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Of course, as we've already known, as is already true today, the expanded free trial includes Stormblood. So most people that are going to be watching this video will not need this information. But if you have any friends or family that are looking to play or they're not sure, we have free trials up to Stormblood now, which is crazy. As somebody who's played consistently since like early A Realm Reborn, like having a free trial through Stormblood is just huge. And then more details about the Xbox. The beta was announced to begin in early February, so we don't know what date specifically, but we will be getting the beta in February. And of course, the Final Fantasy XVI crossover that we've heard about. The only extra information that we had right now, that the time frame is set for early April, so please look forward to it. And this was the last slide initially, except there was kind of some banter between Kate and Yoshi about, wait, we're missing something. And of course, it was a little bit. And they decided, oh wait, we have another video. And of course, it was the female Hrothgar. So this was the last really big thing of the keynote. We got to see the female Hrothgar in action, of course, with some really awesome, badass character art right here. Very strong, independent female Hrothgar. And then, of course, a picture of a character in game. I recommend going and checking out the video of the trailer for the female Hrothgar. They look really cool. I was super unsure of how they were going to look. Are they going to look more like female Makote? Are they going to look like super bestial? Like where's the line going to be? But I think they did them a lot of justice by making them look fierce, independent. Of course, their skeleton is very humanoid, but overall they feel unique and they feel like Hrothgar. Now, a little bit more information about their background. We learned that they hail from Ilsebard, and that, of course, they said that female numbers are kind of few among the population. I feel like that was kind of like what they told us about male Viera, where they're like, oh yeah, that's why we haven't seen them. There are not that many of them. But either way, so it looks like female Hrothgar are kind of like natural born leaders, and, you know, they stand taller than the male Hrothgar, probably because they're kind of like, you know, they're tall and they're leaderly. And of course, it says the Torali people with shared ancestry, the Exbral call Yaktel home. And the very last thing that we saw was the official art poster for the expansion. This is very different than we're used to seeing. We are so used to seeing the Scions of the Seventh Dawn on every single poster, and this is the first time we don't see that. Now, the only people from the original Scions right here is Thancred, you have Urianger, of course, the Warrior of Light, and Kryl. So it's kind of interesting to see that lack of Scions. I wonder if we're consistently going to see the shift away from the core group and introduction of new characters. I'm actually pretty excited to see some of these new characters. Two of the characters that stuck out to me specifically that we just don't know anything about. This character right here, this male Makote, we might know something about him, but it didn't jog my memory at all. But the main one was up top here. This woman up top, who is she? I have no idea. She, in contrast to everyone else, is all lit, like super lit up and light and bright. And so I feel like she might have a big part in the story, but we just don't know yet. And I'm very curious to see who she is. And of course, please look forward to it, as we all do every time that there's an expansion. Now, thanks for watching my recap of the Final Fantasy XIV JP FanFest Keynote 2024. Please like and subscribe for more Final Fantasy XIV content. I stream 14 maybe 6 times a week on Twitch, and I'm making a lot more content on YouTube now. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think about the keynote? What do you think about all of the reveals? Do you have any thoughts or predictions for what's to come? I'd love to hear them, and we will see you in Dawn Trail.